What if the fall of Rome was sparked by a whisper in the trees? Zoom into a mist-soaked woodland. Hear the crunch of Roman boots. In the shadows, tribes gather. Not armies, but something older. The Cherusci. The Suebi. The Marcomanni. They do not know the name Germany. But they know their land. And they know when to strike. In 9 CE, 3 Roman legions marched through the Teutoburg forest, led by Publius Quinctilius Varus. They believe peace is at hand. But Arminius, once a friend of Rome, turns on his former masters. In a storm of mud, branches, and steel, the forest devours the empire. They built an empire, but buried their future. Rome never again tries to conquer east of the Rhine. Instead, they build walls, watchtowers, a boundary of fear. But inside those forests, something stirs. Tribes that once hid, now rise. They fight, fade, return. No state binds them. Yet their stories are not forgotten. The collapse of Roman dreams was not the end. It was the beginning of something far more enduring. Because while Rome turned west, the east began to awaken. Imagine a winter dawn. 800 CE. The hush of St. Peter's Basilica. A Frankish warlord kneels at the altar. Pope Leo III places a golden crown on his head. Emperor of the Romans. Charlemagne is no German. Yet his empire will birth the foundations of Germany. A patchwork of Latin prayers and Germanic blood. He unites lands from the Pyrenees to the Danube. He builds palaces at Aachen. He rules not just by sword, but by school, by law, by cross. And yet, they dreamed of unity, but carved borders with every gift. When Charlemagne dies, his realm fractures. His grandsons squabble, then divided at Verdun. East Francia, his eastern domain, becomes the seat of something new. A realm of dukes and bishops. The Holy Roman Empire. But this empire is no empire at all. It is chaos in a crown. Kings without control. Princes with armies. Cities with walls, and no allegiance. Still, the myth holds. Charlemagne's ghost lingers in every coronation. Every war, every map. The Holy Roman Empire will stagger on. For 1,000 years. But beneath its weight, Germany slumbers. Waiting for a shape it does not yet have. Zoom into a candlelit study. A monk hunches over parchment. He writes, furiously. The words strike like thunder. Here I stand. I can do no other. Martin Luther does not mean to split the world. But in 1517, his 95 Theses shake Christendom to its core. He nails them to a church door in Wittenberg, an act of defiance that becomes a bonfire. They sought salvation, but found revolution. The German states fracture along lines of faith. Catholic princes clash with Protestant rebels. The peasants' war erupts, simple farmers calling for justice, crushed beneath noble swords. The 30 Years' War will follow, swallowing cities whole. Magdeburg burns. Entire regions vanish into plague, famine, and ash. But ideas cannot be burned. From the chaos rises a different Germany, a place where the soul matters. Where printing presses roar. Where music and theology meet. The Reformation does not unify Germany. But it gives it identity. Belief. Resolve. And a deep, dangerous habit of rebellion. Imagine a foggy plain, drums echo, and a blue-coated figure surveys the battlefield with cold, calculating eyes. This is Frederick the Great. King of Prussia. Philosopher, and killer. In the 18th century, while the Holy Roman Empire rots from within, Prussia rises like a blade. A kingdom of discipline. Of silence. Of drill and musket. Its people don't speak, they march. Its kings don't smile, they strategize. They forged order from chaos, but paid in blood. Prussia fights Austria, France, Russia, and wins more often than it should. It becomes the spearpoint of German ambition. A place where state is everything, and the individual is nothing. But in its rise lies a paradox: Prussia is German, but not Germany. It conquers, but does not unite. Still, its power grows. And deep beneath its steel, a question simmers. What if one kingdom could unite them all? Zoom into a chamber thick with cigar smoke and silence. A man with iron eyes pours brandy, and speaks softly. Not by speeches and majorities, but by blood and iron. Otto von Bismarck is not a soldier, but he commands armies. Not a king, but he controls them. In the mid-19th century, he becomes Minister-President of Prussia, and begins to carve Germany from war. He defeats Denmark. Then Austria. Then France. Each victory, carefully chosen. Each war, a means to an end. They played chess with nations, and called it peace. In 1871, in the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles, the German Empire is born. Wilhelm I is crowned emperor. Germany is united. But not as a democracy. Not as a republic. As an empire. Prussian steel dressed in German flags. It is a victory built on silence. And the silence will not last. Imagine bustling streets in Berlin. Industry. Wealth. Uniforms gleaming beneath gaslights. But beneath the surface, tension coils. Germany, newly unified, is too powerful for peace, and too insecure for restraint. It builds dreadnoughts. Colonies. Treaties. Enemies. They stood tall, but feared every shadow. By 1914, the system snaps. An assassination in Sarajevo, a chain of alliances, and suddenly, the world is at war. Germany marches east and west. Trench warfare. Gas. Zeppelin raids. Millions die. Glory vanishes beneath the mud. And in 1918, defeat. The Kaiser flees. The empire falls. What replaces it is fragile. Resentful. Haunted by Versailles. The Weimar Republic is born amid protest, debt, and humiliation. But inside its struggle, something darker festers. And soon, the shadows will speak. Zoom into torchlit rallies. Red banners. A mustached man screaming into a microphone. Adolf Hitler rises from a failed art career and a failed coup, to take control of a broken nation. The Nazis promise strength. Unity. Revenge. And they deliver terror. They raised their voices, but buried their conscience. Germany rearms. Reclaims lost lands. Invades Poland. War begins. Again. The Holocaust follows. Auschwitz. Dachau. 6 million Jews. Millions more dead across Europe. Cities burned. Children lost. History shattered. By 1945, Berlin is rubble. Hitler is dead. Germany is occupied. Divided. Judged. What began as unification, ends in genocide and ruin. And yet, from that ruin, something unexpected will grow. Picture a wall, concrete, tall, gray. Splitting a city, a people, a soul. West Germany thrives, capitalist, democratic, rebuilt. East Germany stagnates, behind barbed wire and Soviet command. Families split. Dreams smothered. Hope flickers dim. They built a wall to keep freedom out, but trapped themselves within. Still, the people resist. Uprisings in 1953. Escapes through tunnels. Protest songs. A whisper grows, louder, until one day in 1989. The wall falls. Berlin rejoices. The world watches. East and West embrace. But after celebration, comes reckoning. Rebuilding. Relearning how to be one. Germany is whole again. But unity is never simple. Zoom into a parliament in Berlin. Sleek. Modern. Determined. Germany today is not what it once was. It is not an empire. Not a wall. Not a dream of blood and iron. It is a republic. Democratic. Reflective. Sometimes reluctant to lead, but never again to follow blindly. They looked back in shame, but walked forward with courage. Germany becomes a pillar of Europe. A haven for memory and progress. From Angela Merkel to the refugee crisis, from climate leadership to cultural revival, it is a nation grappling with its past, but shaping its future. And yet, the shadows remain. They always do. But perhaps, that is the cost of remembering. And so we return, to the forests. The same trees that once whispered Roman defeat, now rustle with memory. Germany is not one thing. It never was. It is empire and republic. Theology and terror. Music and machinery. It is contradiction made nation. They walked through fire, and built bridges from ash. Its history is not a straight line. It is a spiral. Winding through blood, belief, and rebirth. And still it moves forward. Germany does not forget. And perhaps, that is what makes it whole. Zoom out, from forest to skyline. From past, to possibility.